Greetings, humans! I'm Shucky Ballzak, aka the Werewolf of Berwyn, as I'm known on the outer webs. I hail from parts unknown, in and around Chicago, Illinois, where I host a podcast show called the Garbage Pail Flicks Podcast Show, where I've done it for about 2 years, where I read the backs of VHSs, talk shit about movies, and the lost treasures of trash that I own. And I am a tapehead. I also directed this movie you've never heard of, called Showman's Unrest. Well, I guess it all started in about 1988 or 89 when my mom got us a VCR finally for Christmas of 88. I was just fascinated with recording stuff off of television. I remember the first time I ever watched Ferris Bueller's Day Off was on NBC Sunday Night the Movies, and I taped it. After I recorded it and watched it a million times, like wore the tape out, I realized years later that when I rented it, from a video store, that there was actually cursing in the movie. I actually got to hear the curse words then because I knew that what they were saying wasn't what they were saying. It was like really bad, like stuck a lump of coal in his fist. So I just taped stuff off TV all the time. Back then you needed a credit card to rent movies, and I wasn't in that group of families that had a credit card, so I couldn't rent movies, so I had to tape everything off television or, anything. We didn't have cable, so I had to find ways. But I would tape everything from like Simpsons to wrestling off of television, so I was just always recording, I had a bunch of blank tapes. Back then I thought I was clever, brilliant. I could pause and tape out all the commercials on this stuff, and it really kills me now because I have all these Simpsons and South Park tapes that are like commercial-less basically, and have no commercials, and I'm like, oh, I wish I would have kept the commercials in there because that would have been great to have now. Some of you out there understand what I'm saying. Why? Because beta is too expensive and laser discs are too big. I refuse to go over to Blu-ray. I stopped at DVDs and those scratch really easily. It's like the closest thing to having a time machine. You could put a tape in and it's from that period when it was recorded. And you can, watch something from that era, the 70s or 80s or 90s, 2000, whatever. And it's like a portal into the past. The cover art on VHSs is always rad. And there's always like alternate covers. Like if something comes out on DVD, there's probably a different cover than when it came out on VHS. They updated the DVD cover from the original VHS cover, so you're not always getting the same cover art of the movies. Yeah, I did an inventory and it was like $6.89. My collection's 75% VHS. I do have DVDs and stuff, but it's mostly VHS because, believe it or not, DVDs are actually more expensive sometimes to buy because they're out of print, or maybe because they scratch easier, get damaged easier. But sometimes VHSs are actually cheaper to find or cheaper to buy a certain movie title. But yeah, since I'm buying weekly, I'll probably be in the 700 club any day if I'm not already. I probably have a few, I'm sure. One of them would have to be Midnight Madness. This movie, man, was just part of my growing up. This stars David Naughton and Michael J. Fox in his first ever movie. And a cameo from Pee Wee Herman at the end, Paul Reubens. This movie is like just a part of my childhood, teenhood growing up. A friend of mine down the block from me where I grew up gave me a copy on VHS recorded off of cable, off Cinemax. Every time people would come over, we would watch it, or when we were hanging out, we would just put it on, and it was just like a really quotable movie and just funny, and I'm not sure, it's just a really obscure thing that only certain people have heard about, and it's basically about a bunch of college kids that go on a rat race or a mad world type of scavenger hunt around Los Angeles. It's insane. It's goofy and 70s and just cheesy and amazing. But I've had this VHS forever because it was never released on DVD until maybe 10 years ago or something. And then Disney got the rights to it and released it. So this Anchor Bay, untouched, unedited, it's awesome. I love this I've had this movie forever. My signed copy of Shakes the Clown, signed by Shakes the Clown himself, Bobcat Goldthwait, the Citizen Kane of drunken clown movies. This is a more recent prize tape because right before all this craziness happened with the lockdown, Bobcat blew through our town of Chicago, blew through the Windy City, and did a show, and was nice enough to sign my VHS copy of Shakes the Clown for me. And it was a really memorable night for me and my girl, and it was just awesome, awesome experience. He does an awesome stand-up show, and never get rid of this. Is great. This is one of the best signed tapes that I own. Bobcat. My rarest tapes and most asked about tapes have got to be the Svengoolie tape that I own here. 70s Svengoolie Screaming Yellow Theater. This other Svengoolie tape that I have taped off of TV shit. For those who don't know who Svengoolie is, I'll give you a brief history of Svengoolie. He is a horror host. Every town or city has a horror host. If you out there know what I'm talking about. Svengoolie was a horror host in Chicago in 1970s. Screaming Yellow Theater was hosted by Svengoolie, aka Jerry G. Bishop. In the 80s, it was taken over by Rich Coase, who still does it today. Like 40 years later, he's still doing it. An ongoing Chicago tradition, Svengoolie. These are my rarest because of the fact that this one was given to me by a friend that lives in Berwyn, where we grew up and went to school, and we're from where Svengoolie jokes about, if you're familiar with Svengoolie's jokes about the town of Berwyn. And this one was taped off a TV by a friend when I was living out of Chicago and was homesick, and he decided to hook me up and tape some WCIU early 2000s Svengoolie with commercials. So these are just, these are really rare. Unless somebody taped Svengoolie off a TV when it was on, you're not going to find too much Svengoolie. It's very hard to come by, especially now. YouTube, has, stuff, but you're not going to find VHS tapes, unless somebody has them that actually recorded them when they were on, back in the 80s or 70s or whenever. This one has all the commercials. This doesn't have commercials, sadly. I'm really happy that Svengoolie is still going in 2021. Like, you can put on MeTV every Saturday night and he's still on TV. He's a national treasure, Svengoolie. This sadly doesn't have any movies, it's just the skits and stuff. This does have 2 movies on it. It's Brides of Dracula and Abbott and Costello Meet Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So there you go. This one's got the actual movies that he showed, and this one is just the skits and, funny bits that they do in between. The jokes, horror host type stuff. What's cool about Svengoolie is that those tapes are like tradable. So I can trade other people in other states that they're horror hosts. So, it's like, oh yeah, give me a Dr. Creep and I'll give you a Svengoolie, tape. So it's kind of cool that we can, have that, because, everyone's got their own horror host in their own town. So represent. Grail tapes are always changing, I feel like. A few are actually the one that I don't have yet is Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Not that cover, the traditional spinning globe Killer Clowns cover versus this. I would love the other cover to Killer Clowns. It would make my life complete. But for Grail tapes that I do have, I actually just obtained for more money than I want to admit that I paid for. The Garbage Pail Kids movie, the namesake of my podcast and everything that I revolve my childhood around, I guess. Even though I own this on DVD, I needed it on VHS because the cover art is definitely different. This cover art is not on the DVD and is not on like any Blu-ray, anything. So to get the original cover art to the Garbage Pail Kids, you have to buy the VHS. You gotta have it for this shit-tastic movie that's not worth the box it comes in. I also will put in the Grail category anything that's taped off a television from the 70s throughout the 90s with commercials. Those are just gold. No matter what they are, I will go through them and find gold. Still looking for anything recorded off a TV. Anything that's taped off TV shit. I have every Godzilla King of the Monsters movie, every Godzilla movie Toho ever made, I believe every Godzilla movie that has come out on VHS, I own now. Except for one. I am missing, and I've had it so close. So close. The only Godzilla movie I'm missing is Godzilla vs. the Smog Monster, aka Godzilla vs. Hedorah. only movie I'm missing, and I've had it, almost had it so many times, right from under my feet. There's also other tapes that I'm missing, like things here and there, like the Universal Monster set. I'm missing a few, like 5 of those. Mystery Science Theater 3000, I have mostly all those, and I think I'm missing like 3 tapes. The really super rare ones are those Marvel classic cartoons from like the 60s and 70s, the clamshells. I'm missing like a bunch of those, and those are super like expensive and rare, so probably will never find those. But yeah, and the other sets I'm missing maybe a couple, you know, couple here and there. I'm missing some of these drive-in classic movies too. These are really cool. There's only a few of these I'm missing as well. The best thing about the community is that there is a community, and that like there's other people out there that see the appeal to collecting anything, especially movies, and VHSs are like archival pieces of history. People who collect VHSs specifically are speaking my language. We have something in common, something to talk about, you know, right off. It's funny because I've never really met any people that I trade with, except for like maybe 1 or 2 I've met in person, but all the rest of them I've never met them, and they're like so cool, and I talk to them all the time, and it's just an awesome community, you know, of people and creative minds and people that are knowledgeable about movies and you know, history of movies and different weird things, you know, that no one else really knows or cares about. Our mutual or almost hidden adoration for like recorded off of television stuff, you know, tapes that you find at like a yard sale or a Salvation Army. Someone found and gave it to somebody, and they gave it to somebody, and no one knows where the hell it came from, but it exists. Taped off television stuff from back in the 70s, before like barely anybody had a VCR, but you know, they taped something off of television, it's, you know, preserved on this tape. I come from an era when it was like, you know, tape trading or, you know, finding rare tapes, it was unheard of. It was like, you know, imagine we didn't have no internet, we had no, you know, all we had was like, you know, word of mouth, and, you know, oh, I know this guy and this guy knows this guy, and, you know, most people back then weren't into special interest things. It's evolved so much. So like back in the day, you know, like, you know, tape traders, it just boggles the mind how, you know, it even worked. I also enjoy like reading the stories and, you know, hearing stories about video stores, like old video store stories or old tales of the video store. Because I worked at a Blockbuster for many years, and, you know, working at that type of place, you see a lot of characters. So hearing stories and stuff from other people that shared the same experience, or when they were trying to find a tape, you know. And tape trading now, it's like you just go online, you just, hey, you know, who's got this movie? Or, hey, you know, I'm looking for this movie, and all of a sudden you end up with a copy of Ninjas in Action that I didn't even know I needed. My coolest found in the wild tapes. This is one of them, definitely. Secrets of the Haunted Mansion, hosted by Kevin McCurdy. And you find out who Kevin McCurdy is, you know, about 5 minutes into this. Volume 1, which I've never found any of the other volumes. If I ever found any of the other volumes of this, I'd be a lucky boy. This is a how-to video on how to construct props and detail your own haunted attraction. And as a former haunt actor, I think this is a must-have for anybody that's thinking about getting into haunting around October, or you know, is a haunter already and needs to brush up on their craft. I'm so glad that Half Price Books had this just sitting there. Now you can create detailed and atmospheric scenes for your haunted attraction. It was made in Canada. Kevin McCurdy is known throughout the industry as the master of detail. Now in this video series, Kevin shows you how to build props, use theatrical painting techniques, develop themes, set the mood, because you need to set the mood, design scenes, create special effects, and more. Each volume is filled with useful tips to create your ultimate haunted house, because you need the ultimate haunted house in October. So why not get the jump on it and find this video, because how else are you gonna build a haunted house without this? You need all 10, I don't even know how many volumes are on this. That's the mystery, is how many volumes are in this? How many volumes did Kevin McCurdy create? Also found in the wild, and I was so happy when I found this, because at the time when I found it, it was totally unfindable, and still kinda is. Nickelodeon's You Can't Do That on Television, the worst of You Can't Do That on Television. Not only is this rare with the little green slime on the corner there, nasty green slime, this came from a video store that was in my old neighborhood in Berwyn called Value Video Store, Value Video Superstore, which was formerly a Palmer Video store. Palmer Video was a chain that was from the East Coast to the Midwest, and they turned into a Value Video store later on. And before they closed, I grabbed this, and I grabbed a copy of Cool as Ice. I also grabbed a copy of Ghoulies 3 that's signed by Kane Hodder, but it didn't come signed by Kane Hodder. I got it signed by Kane Hodder. These were all from Value Video Palmer Video in Berwyn. They just actually closed down 6 years ago, 5 years ago. The thing about this place was that they were known for like their cut boxes, but they didn't cut their boxes. They were cut boxes, but only half cut. So basically you could take these out of here and reform them, except for this one, Zombie. This one's cut to shit. This one's cut to hell, and I can't do anything about it. But yeah, rest in peace, Palmer Video. I dabble in all kinds of voodoo. It starts out with horror movies like everybody, and it mutates into me looking up online and trying to find people have handwritten video recordings of, stuff taped off of television from like the 80s of USA Up All Night to, Commander USA or, TBS Grandpa Munster hosting Saturdays on TBS, the Superstation. It never ends, it just becomes like crazy. Everything from like, Japanese wrestling tapes, obscure, as obscure as like Max Headroom. I just, find Max Headroom if I can make a tape or find a tape of Max Headroom mix. Gravedale High, cartoons, lost cartoons that, nobody cares or even knows about anymore. Everything from that to like, this Russian puppet opera. This is the kind of stuff why do I have this? Any cartoons. If it has puppets or clowns in it, I'm fascinated and I want it on VHS. There's also a couple of like, shot on video, Dave the Rock Nelson, anything that's like shot on video from like the 80s or 70s or 90s that somebody made and just kind of put out, with no budget. I'm all about that stuff. Dave the Rock Nelson, yeah! Yeah, Dave the Rock. He's a local hero of ours, and if you don't know who he is, buy his movies, his monster movies. You gotta find them. Find Dave the Rock Nelson's movies. Those are great if you can find them on VHS, if you can find them at all. Trades. Isn't it great when good trade comes together? There's nothing better than a good trade, good tape trade. Two of my most notable trades that I can remember is, one is the copy of The Stuff that I wanted needed this cover, because this cover is the original cover. The other cover, if you're gonna put it there, put it right here. The other cover, the stuff that's not the right, this is the right stuff right here. This is the right stuff. This movie is awesome, by the way. If you've never seen it, you do yourself a favor and see The Stuff. You just can't get enough of it. Can't get enough of The Stuff. I traded this for a copy of Trick or Treat, the one with Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne and the Skippy from Family Ties. So I had that on DVD, so I was kind of like, well, I need the other cover of this stuff more than Trick or Treat with Ozzy and Skippy. So thanks, G. This cartoon was such a big part of my childhood, and when I found this and traded it for, I don't even remember what, because I was so excited to find this Teen Wolf cartoon. There's only 2 of them made that I know of. The other one I've never seen but a few out there. But when I found this, I was super stoked, probably more happy than I should have been. I mean, this tape really makes me want to like, ow, yeah, Teen Wolf. Coming out to play. This is this right here. Saturday morning memories of the best kind. The other tape that I saw of this was a hair-raising price. I was just so lucky to get this in a trade and not have to like pay for it. Some of my newest tapes are from a service in Canada, VHS service in Canada called Video Force, that does these big box art creations And these are some of my newest tapes, new old tapes, because I could not find this anywhere, not even on YouTube. Nowhere can I find Revenge of the Radioactive Reporter. Or maybe on Blu-ray, but not on VHS, a copy of Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers with these cool, like, Video Force, retro big box, cover art, and, these are awesome. These are just great. And I also have Freaked, Tales from the Quad Dead Zone, and Rawhead Rex in the same big box format. So thank you, Video Force, and yeah, Video Force is awesome. They're one of many collectors who recreate VHS, VHSs, and make them look retro. And I actually finally found the copies that I needed to complete the set of Killer Tomatoes movies. Killer Tomatoes Strike Back, which is the third movie. Killer Tomatoes Eat France, which is the fourth movie. I have yet to watch either of these. I have the other two as well, and I watched those a million times. But these I were looking for a while, and I finally found them, and I'm so happy that I found them. I also knew another new tape I got was this copy of Troma's War, a Troma movie. I can never have enough Troma movies on VHS. They're rare as it is, in VHS or DVD. They're not going to find physical format Troma movies. If you do, it's pretty cool to find them, especially in the wild, or if people are selling them. I'll always grab a Troma movie if I don't have a Troma movie. If I don't have it, I will definitely grab it on VHS. The first ever tape that I owned, besides recorded off TV stuff that I recorded myself, was the copy of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles the movie, which I don't own because I have it on DVD. But the VHS copy I had definitely was like the first thing I remember buying, and I watched the heck out of it. The one with the Pizza Hut commercial at the beginning with the baseball kid. Yeah, that was my first tape that was bought for me. I worked at a secondhand CD store, music store, and they had VHSs in this secondhand store when I was in high school. That was inside a mall. And I remember it was the first time I ever discovered a Troma movie, a Troma film. And I was on VHS, and I grabbed Toxic Avenger. You might have heard of him. Superhero Mutant from New Jersey. Yeah, I remember grabbing this. The other one I grabbed was a copy of Sergeant Kabuki Man, NYPD. I remember seeing the trailer on another Troma movie, and I was so freaking psyched when I found this. And it came into my work, and I was like, spending my whole check on VHSs, stuff like, Class of Nukem High. I bought all these with my own money when I worked in this secondhand, it was called Recyclery of Discs, and they had VHSs and all kinds of other cool shit there. But my most prized, my most cherished that I've had since it was recorded off of television in 1989 on Fox Television Channel 32 in Chicago, this copy of A Christmas Story. As you can see, I wrote A Christmas Story on this. It's recorded off television from 1989 with all the original commercials, and I converted this onto a DVD to preserve, because I don't even play this tape anymore, but I do watch this every Christmas on a DVD that I made because of all the commercials on here are amazing. I uploaded them onto YouTube, on my YouTube channel. I would never get rid of this tape. This HQ Fuji Film 160, never leaving. That is A Christmas Story on VHS that I taped when I was like 11 or 10 or something. And like that's how I've celebrated Christmas for like the past like 20 years, is with that tape. Like I will sit there with cookies and milk and wait up until, just stay up all night watching, this tape, because of, I don't need the 24-hour Christmas Story. I have this Christmas Story tape that's much better to me, with the commercials and local Chicago commercials still on them and stuff. Big top thanks, 6 feet under the big top thanks to VHSurfer for giving me this opportunity. I love your show, the VHSurfer. Love the VHSurfer. Keep surfing, dude. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my VHS collection with everybody. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed showing it to everybody. Please check out my YouTube channel, Colro Circus, and Garbage Pail Flicks, my podcast and YouTube channel, Garbage Pail Flicks. Hashtag 6 feet under the big top. Hashtag garbage pail flicks. FLIX. By this time this comes on, there will already be a new episode of Garbage Pail Flicks up on YouTube and everywhere else you can find podcasts. This is Chucky Bizzle, Chucky Chuck, the werewolf of Berwyn. Ow! Ending transmission.